The following program is made possible by Wells Fargo. Wells Fargo, the next stage.
Well, Durst has the cure for PTSD. That's President Trump's stress disorder. The good doctor of political humor is going to cure what ails us with that always helpful medicine, laughter. The game is politics. The game is on. I'm Mark Simon. Welcome to the game. We're on the verge of war with North Korea. Our president thinks Nazis are misunderstood. Seems like we're just one tweet away from a constitutional crisis. For some reason, he's mad at Puerto Rico for having a hurricane. There's only one thing left to do, and that's laugh. And if that's what you want to do, go to the Marsh Theater in San Francisco, where our friend and our nation's premier political comedian is doing an extended run of his new show, The Durst Case Scenario. Will Durst, thanks for being here.
I love that. Yeah. He's mad at Puerto Rico for having a hurricane.
Well,
I'm using that.
It was a very strange episode.
It was.
You know, how many times, it hasn't even been a year. How many times in the past several months have you said, I never thought I'd ever see a president do that?
No, how many times have you said to yourself, imagine if Hillary Clinton had said that. Imagine if Barack Obama had done that. Yeah, so yeah, it's kind of like creep. You know, they talk about mission creep, and well, now you got a creep, and he's creeping, and so we have to defend ourselves against creep.
Yeah. So is this the golden age, or is this, I don't know what the quite, you know, you said that during the George W. Bush years that all you really had to do was pick up a newspaper. It was rip and read. I don't think we ever thought we'd get to where we are.
No.
Yeah.
No. This is it's a feast. It's not feast or famine. It's the double-edged sword because there's so much happening, and the good part is the audience that I deal with is aware of my references. So when I mention Covfefe, and then I bring out, I have an overhead projector and I have a transparency of the actual tweet, and they recognize Covfefe. The problem is, the turnover is so rapid. Scaramucci. Remember Scaramucci, Anthony? Scaring him. And I had 5 minutes on Scaramucci, and now he's
gone.
Gone. Nobody cares.
They're not thinking about you is what the problem is. You know?
I know.
And so now we have a president whose Secretary of State apparently says he didn't call him a moron. I'm thinking he used the Bugs Bunny line. He called him a maroon.
He didn't say he didn't call him a moron.
Yeah.
His press secretary said, "Oh, that's ridiculous." She didn't say that he didn't call her a moron. He just said it was ridiculous, and it is. It is ridiculous. And apparently the moron was, that's great. I can call him the moron, and everybody will know who I'm talking about. I heard that he said the effing moron, and I'm not sure if that, but that's even, you know. That's Rex Tillerson is,
That's a whole new level. It's, I have to keep coming back to the same question. Is there a take to be had on all of this? I mean, we watch this stuff unfold. We see these tweets. We cringe, and yet he keeps doing it. There's a whole group of people who think it's all very calculated by him, which I think is unduly optimistic.
Well, I think he's using chaos as fog, you know, so that none of his actual machinations can be seen through a proper perspective or without the Vaseline lens. But what's amazing is the fact that President Donald Trump, I mean, that is President Donald Trump. It's like saying Pope Charlie Sheen. You know, it doesn't have any. And I was prepared because in 2012 I did a show about the election, and it was called Elect to Laugh, and I did every Tuesday at the Marsh, 22nd of Valencia, 1062. So I did every Tuesday from Super Tuesday all the way to the election. And then after the election in 2012, when Obama was reelected, nobody wanted to hear about politics. I mean, they had gone through la. And so I wrote a show about being a baby boomer. And I was prepared in 2017, I had set up in January and February a bunch of gigs where I would go back to my Boomer show that I wrote in 2013, Boomer Raging from LSD to OMG. And people started saying, when are you going to do, because it's like community. You know, people need this. It's almost cathartic. I am Dr. Durst. I am, you know, shepherding people through their PTSD. And it's almost like community, you know, when they're laughing. Because comedy, humor, can put a handle on something. You know, it's like a giant beanbag. It's hard to get, you know, it's not that heavy, but it's all and it's hard to, but if you put a handle on it, you can carry it around.
Yeah, it is one of the characteristics of the time is that things just come at us. I mean, you have guns and hurricanes in like the same week, and now they're talking about another hurricane. And this time for New Orleans, because after all, it's been a while for them.
Yeah, we're going through hurricane fatigue. Okay, it was fun in July and August, but really, seriously, people.
Yeah, well, there was a great Jimmy Buffett line about trying to reason with the hurricane season. But let's talk about guns a little bit, because you know, the immediate response is thoughts and prayers, which is, you know, that's nice.
But it's become so cliche.
Sure.
You know, some politician discovered this phrase, you know, our thoughts and prayers are with the victims and their families. And it became so prevalent that everybody goes back to it immediately, and that's it. That's it, especially for the NRA. You know, well, this isn't the time to politicize such an event. Yeah, but they happen with such frequency. We're in a constant state of bereavement. You can never find time to do this.
Well, that's the thing. You can't do it during and you can't do it between.
No.
So I guess
the only time is pre.
My guess is the NRA is so effective a lobby, they're probably having to lay people off now. They don't even need to. People are so scared of them.
But then there's the gun owners of America, which makes the NRA look like, you know, a leftist wing of the ACLU. These guys, the NRA might actually compromise on the bump stocks, which makes me think that the bump stocks are a novelty item. You know, it's like telling the PGA they can't hollow out their putters and use them as flasks. You know, okay. You know, because the NRA is willing to get rid of the bump stock, but the GOA, the Gun Owners of America, no. I heard a guy from the GOA, and he was on NPR. He was on the Krasny show, Forum on KQED, and he was the representative of the crazy people. And he said the problem with gun violence is gun-free zones. That was the problem with gun violence, is gun-free zones. So his response to gun violence is more guns, which is like, you know, combating floods with more water, or having a rat problem and you go to Congress.
You know, the problem in Vegas,
the
problem in Vegas, I'm sure, would have been that they didn't have enough people there who could return fire. I mean, it was clearly
from 1,500 yards.
Like, not sure where it's coming from.
See, that was the frightening thing. You know, nobody knew what was happening. You know, we, in retrospect, it was an elevated position, he was shooting in the crowd. But you're in the crowd, you have no idea where the bullets are coming from.
We're going to take a break. You stick around, he'll promise to stay, and we'll come right back.
It's been over 150 years since Wells Fargo first opened for business. Since then, we've enjoyed your community support, and we're passionate about returning it. Every day, Wells Fargo team members roll up their sleeves and donate their time to organizations and charitable groups throughout the Bay Area. Nationally, we've committed even more. In just the past 2 years alone, we've donated over $70 million to support schools and educational programs. It's a commitment we're proud of. Wells Fargo, the next stage.
I'm Mark Simon. Over here we have Will Durst, and in his defense, he dressed better than this. I gave him this necktie, and he's such a sweet.
Yes, he gave me as a gift.
Yeah, because after
wonderful
all,
Giants tie.
It was better either that or double what we're paying him for being here. And mildly nauseous.
That's mildly nauseous, and that's what the former FBI director, James Comey, said how he felt after he realized he might have affected the election. Mildly nauseous. And I actually had English teachers come up to me and say, it should be mildly nauseated.
Because that's the real key to the whole question. That is, I guess, the question is, how did we get into this mess? I mean, we had Obama, and he was in many ways very classy. I was thinking the other day, I never saw a picture of him in the Oval Office where he wasn't wearing a necktie. I mean, he was very respectful of the office.
Do you remember the scandals during the Obama administration? One, Michelle showed up at a state dinner with bare shoulders. Remember that? Fox News went on for a week, and then he wore a beige suit. Remember that? There were huge outcries. Those... And the Tea Party just couldn't accept the fact that America was governed by a black guy living in public housing.
So you are a student of politics and political science. How did we end up here? How did this happen? I mean, God damn it, how did this happen?
Can you say that? I think it was a response to Obama that people were and Hillary had a lot of baggage, more baggage than the first United flight out of O'Hare after a freak spring blizzard. She had a lot of baggage, and people hated her, and I don't know why. And there was this campaign since '92. I mean, for 25 years, people have been, this is what they said about Hillary. When she was First Lady of the United States of America, she's a liar, she's a thief, she's a lesbian, she murdered Vince Foster. That's what they said about her when she was First Lady. So and then the election came down to Donald Trump, who was the only Republican who could possibly lose to Hillary Clinton, and Hillary Clinton, who was the only Democrat who could possibly lose to Donald Trump. So it was like we lived through the worst O. Henry story ever written. He's a writer.
There's a literary
illusion.
He
gets that joke because he's a writer.
There is a lot of psychoanalysis going on of the president.
What happened?
So, sort of short of he's just nuts.
I don't think it's that short of it.
Yeah. First of all, what's your take on that? And what's your take on people who, spend their time diagnosing the guy based on his behavior?
Well, I totally agree with Rex Tillerson, and I've never said that before, and don't expect to hear myself say it again. But also, remember at the Democratic Convention, Michael Bloomberg, who is familiar with Donald Trump because he traveled in the same circles. He, at the Democratic Convention, said it was important to vote for Hillary because, and I quote, she's not insane. That's what he said. And that was a sentiment that was echoed by that paragon of liberal media leaders and the editorial page of the Wall Street Journal, who said that at least Hillary's not insane. Yeah. So I don't know how Melania, whatever her name is, the first lady, the naked first lady, I don't know how she puts up with him.
Well, she doesn't look happy.
She never did, though.
Yeah.
I mean, not in any of the photos.
Although I did notice when she was in Puerto Rico, she had on some Timberland boots.
Oh.
Yeah, very stylish.
As opposed to Harvey, where she wore the stilettos.
So she can learn. She can be taught.
Yeah.
That's a good thing. Tell us about your show, Durst Case Scenario. It runs a little longer, as I understand it.
Yes, we're doing every Tuesday between now and it ends on November 21st.
Okay.
Because then I have to devote my attention to the big fat year-end kiss-off comedy show, which is 6 of us, and we go. But it's every Tuesday at the Marsh.
Let's not bypass that. I've seen the Big Fat Kiss Off year-end comedy show, and it's phenomenal. It's Will and a number of other comedians. Debbie Durst is a lovely and talented wife.
Michael Bossier, Arthur Gauss, Mari Magaloni, and Johnny Steele.
Johnny Steele kills.
It's a extravaganza. We travel all over the Bay Area. And we do skits and sketches and stand-up, all based on the previous year. So, unfortunately, this year won't give us any. We already wrote a sketch. It's Bob Dylan accepting his Nobel Prize for Literature. Thank you. So I haven't. Yeah.
So Durst Case Scenario. Just describe the show a little bit. What do you do?
It's me ranting and raving, and I actually say in the show that normally people who've seen me before will, tell you that I approached the thing with a modicum of taste and decorum, and I try to make a reasonable attempt to be bipartisan. Well, screw that. From now on, I'm playing by his rules. So that's how it's different. It's not very. If you think the current occupant of the Oval Office is a breath of fresh air, this show is not for you.
Let's talk a little about the Democrats, such as they are.
Useless.
Well, is that their message? It's like, the only thing worse, I suppose, than some of the ways the president conducts himself is the lack of coherence to the Democratic side about what they're supposed to do or how they're supposed to respond, other than sort of recoiling in fear and hoping everybody else figures out what they think they already know.
Yeah, I don't know if they're stuck in old paradigms, they're unfamiliar with what's happening, or if they just don't get out of their own little circles, because it doesn't seem like they're responding in kind to the actions that are happening. I mean, they're useless. I mean, right now, they can't stir the country with a crowbar the size of Idaho. I mean, you would think that they would rally support. Useless, just as useless as an ejection seat in a helicopter. See, because.
Well, what can I tell you? That their most prominent Democrat in the country right now is a guy who looks like he's yelling at kids to get off his lawn.
Bernie?
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of Bernie. Met Bernie a couple times. He's got the sense of humor of an end table. Yeah. Really. But the kids love the Bernie. They feel the burn. Senior citizens, not so much. Senior citizens felt the burn. It was not a happy thing. It was psoriasis or hemorrhoids or shingles or. I had the burn. I did not care for it. I had to apply unguentine for a month. Because he knows what unguentine is.
I think we'll take a break. This next segment will be brought to you by unguentine. Don't go away. Even on that note, stick around. We'll be right back.
3, 2, 1.
It's been over 150 years since Wells Fargo first opened for business. Since then, we've enjoyed your community support, and we're passionate about returning it. Every day, Wells Fargo team members roll up their sleeves and donate their time to organizations and charitable groups throughout the Bay Area. Nationally, we've committed even more. In just the past 2 years alone, we've donated over $70 million to support schools and educational programs. It's a commitment we're proud of. Wells Fargo, the next stage.
Welcome back to the game. I'm Mark Simon. He's Will Durst. He's very funny. No, he's not very funny. Like a list of stuff here. Healthcare. What's your take on what's going on with healthcare?
Who knew healthcare could be so complicated? Everybody except you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. It's like it still boggles my mind that he could even say something like that.
And completely his supporters don't care.
Yeah, that's the thing that's weird. Is that
they don't care.
They like it, in fact, don't they?
He could push an old lady in a wheelchair down 3 flights of stairs, and they would argue till they were blue in the face that he was giving her a series of chiropractic adjustments. Doesn't matter what he does.
Well, didn't he say he could shoot somebody in the middle of Fifth Avenue?
Yeah.
He was right.
And we know how he would do it. He would deny Fifth Avenue exists and then say, oh, I have a special announcement I'm going to make really soon.
So then we've got on the other side a group of people who apparently think, Antifa, that it's their job to, I guess, fight fire with fire, I guess, for lack of a better way of putting it.
Yeah, I think you show up with a hood on and your face covered, and I think you should be put in a van, really. I mean, that's it. That's how you know. And I love the fact that these are anarchists, and they have a symbol.
Yeah.
The anarchists have it's a circle with an A in it. So you're anarchist, but you have meetings.
Yeah. They organize.
Yeah, they're organized anarchists. Yeah, it's the whole healthcare thing is so sad because he's willing to let the whole thing implode just to prove a point. So I mean that's leadership. You know, that's leadership the same way that 2 bottles of Jägermeister are dinner.
Well, it depends on. I know people.
I'm from Wisconsin.
Yeah. The Norks, which he called the North Koreans in a tweet at one point. He said just recently.
N-O-R-K-S?
N-O-R-K-S, yeah, the Norks.
The Norks?
I guess because he was trying to save characters on his tweet. Although you see Twitter is going to increase the number of characters.
280, yeah.
Yeah, I assume that's because of Trump. They just want him to do more. It's been good for business for them.
Somebody in the Leah Garchik column of the Chronicle said, well, if they go from 140 to 280, will that not be a tweet anymore? Will that be a squawk? I like that line.
So the other day he said that this may be the lull before the storm. It's like
what does that mean?
I don't know. He keeps saying he's going to bomb them back to the Stone Age, which isn't, as far as it would.
Who would notice?
Yeah.
Who would know? The thing, you got these two kids, with daddy issues. Who, I mean, what is Kim Jong-un is only 30 or something, and then Trump is 12, and you got these guys, and Kim Jong-un never had a guy who was escalating the rhetoric. I mean, it used to be your tanks will swim in a sea of eyeballs, and that was him, not him. And so I think he's a little confused. We're talking about limited nuclear warfare, which is like saying tiny pregnancy.
Well, it's like out of Dr. Strangelove. He's going, well, I'm not saying we won't get our hair mussed.
Yeah.
It's like a throwback to like the Cold War of the 60s.
It's like a throwback to exactly what you're saying, a black and white, movie version, a bad movie version of the 1950s.
Yeah. What else is on our list here? The media. How are they doing?
They just keep discovering stuff. I feel so bad. Have you seen like MSNBC? I mean, they can't get through an entire program. Production assistants are running onto the set during the cold open. Wait, there's more. There's more. I mean, that graphic breaking news? It broke. The teleprompter has scars on it. There's whiteout dripping off the lens. So, it just keeps, I switch between the Giants and the news. Stuff happens between batters.
Well, on the other hand, some of them may be guilt because maybe they feel responsible for letting this guy get away with a lot of stuff.
As well they should.
Yeah.
As well they should.
Although the question, I guess, is, do facts matter anymore? I mean, it doesn't seem like, you say all these things, you tell all these things, and people,
I can't accept a world where facts don't matter. Yeah. I mean, it was like right after the Vegas thing.
Yeah.
There were people throwing out phony facts. There was a second shooter, and no, there wasn't. We don't know. You can't tell people that. And there should be, who's going to be the thought police?
Well,
you, me.
We are a generation that was raised on cynicism. You think about.
We're the first one.
Yeah, really.
Question authority. Yeah.
And this is what we're reaping, I suppose. Now, on that cheery note, let's talk about what else have we got on here? I guess the question is it? I opened the show with the idea of laughter's the best medicine, but I guess the one question is it?
Yes, yes, because it allows, and I think this whole thing is a plot by the pharmaceuticals to sell more Xanax. I really do. And it's working. It's working. I have a thing at the end of my show, and I call it the bright sides of the Donald J. Trump presidency. And one of them is fewer long, boring delays between calls for suicide hotline operators. And I wrote it, and then someone at the suicide hotline came to my show and said, that's true.
God.
Another is sales of maple leaf patches to be sewn onto backpacks while traveling overseas have skyrocketed.
It's like, yeah, well, I would imagine if you travel overseas, you get asked a lot of questions about what the hell have you done?
Yeah. What were you thinking?
Yeah, impeachment. Everybody wants to think this guy's going to be impeached.
Not going to happen, at least until 2018 with the makeup of Congress. Although, during Nixon, and I don't remember this, I'm not old enough to remember this, but I've read reports. And according to those reports, the Republicans didn't turn against Nixon until they started having special elections, and they would lose. And their Republican guys would lose in predominantly red districts.
Yeah.
And you can't get more predominantly red districts than what they have now because of gerrymandering. Although there's a case from Wisconsin in the Supreme Court as we speak that may change everything. Because I talked to one of the lawyers, I was back in Wisconsin, and I talked to one of the lawyers who helped prepare the case, and he said, "Ooh, they're going to have a problem with this one." Yeah.
The Durst Case Scenario at the Marsh Theater in San Francisco through November 21, and then the big fat year-end kiss-off comedy show with Durst and Company.
Yeah, just go to willdurst.com. Find out all about this stuff.
The guy needs the gigs, so please help him out. And thank you so much for being here. It's good to see you
Thanks
again.
for having me, Mr. Simon.
And thanks for joining us. Join us next time on The Game.